Thank you. Wow. Yes. So while I have been at TouchBistro, I've been in the restaurant tech industry for almost 10 years now, I made my kind of foray into it at DoorDash. And my claim to fame there, yes, was I was employee number 6 there in Canada, employee number 300 in aggregate at the business. When we started, we were just like, people kept being like, Diane, you joined DoorDash Jeans, like that company? I was like, no. They're a food delivery app. Sorry, what's a food delivery app? And yeah, by the time I grew it to $1 billion in GMV and launched Australia, Japan, and Germany. So plenty of stories for you. But what I thought I'd talk to you about is like using the wisdom that I've gleaned over my experience in sales. Is right now it's a pretty tumultuous time. We can all agree on that. Tumultuous in the macro sense. Where is funding coming from? What is happening with tariffs? Are our businesses thriving, growing? Is my company going to exist in a week, in a month? And I know by the hands of job searchers out there, we're all kind of feeling that. So how do you show up as a leader, and how do you show up every day with kind of resiliency you need to operate in this moment is what I'd like to share with you today. So here's the small office that we were operating from at DoorDash Canada when I first joined in 2018. When we started, we had 400 customers. When I started there were 400 customers across the country. And over the course of my time there, we grew it to 40,000 customers across the country. Did the same thing in Australia. Again, I started from 0 though there, and I moved it up to 40,000. And then launched Japan and Germany, and then realized I needed to take my foot off the gas. But what I realized there was growing, like we were just talking about, growing from 400 to 40,000 isn't just a technical challenge. It's about how do you show up mentally every day with that resilience. And so today we can see that we've got so much of the technical abilities at our hands, right? We've got tools, Claude, we have tools, Chat, we have tools, Momentum, that are all there to kind of help us move forward. But rather today, it's like, how can you then show up as a human? How do you show up with heart? That's what I think is important, to keep the resiliency going when you're under that kind of pressure. And so what I've developed is kind of a 3-step framework to evaluate yourself and build an operating system to keep you moving in the space of high pressure and scale. And so step 1 is really to take the step to know yourself. So do that inner work and do that audit. And so how I think about that is as a leader, and regardless of if you manage teams or if you're just looking at yourself, by the way, this applies to, I've been in both spaces and used this framework. And so step 1 is know your values. So what is it that's really important to you in operating day to day? So for me, that's showing up honestly, that's showing up with transparency, and that's showing up with bold ambition. Those are the values that I take into my day to day. Then the second step is knowing your features. What are your strengths? What do you really bring to the table? And so when I looked at myself and looked at my career, I'm a talent magnet. Like, I bring great people, I develop great talent, my bar is high, and people follow me everywhere I go, which is a sign of a great talent leader. 2 is I set a vision. I'm there to set the goal and hold you to the goal and drive you to the goal. And the third point is that I'm the driver. Like, I know that I'm gonna push you. But then what are those bugs? So my features have bugs, like, let's be honest. And yes, this isn't just an interview where I'm like, well, your greatest strength is your weakness. My weakness is a strength. That's not what I mean. I'm being really honest and candid with yourself about where are your gaps. And I think that's really important for you to know, so that every day you can be aware of them and you can share them and be vulnerable with them. So for me, I have a high level of attachment. I have a high level of attachment to my role. I have a high level of attachment to the people I work with. I am just an owner by heart, and I take that really, really seriously. Second is the red line. I sometimes don't know when to stop. I get so excited about getting that goal. I'll push and I'll drive a little bit too hard sometimes. And the third is sometimes, to me, because I'm driving so hard to that end goal, it's not about the details. You know, I can miss a comment, a period, you know, and sometimes a number, and those details matter. And so then, okay, once I have that awareness and that understanding of myself, then what am I gonna do to build a path for my success? So knowing I have those. So first thing is like, okay, I've known my bugs. I know where I'm at fault. So I've gotta figure out to not necessarily fix them, but like minimize, surround myself the bugs. So for me, in the details, what I've done is I've surrounded myself with true detail-oriented operators who can help mitigate that. That helps me. And so it's not just, but that's not just about the team around me. That's one area of it. The second is like if I need to review a document, I know I need to get into the weeds or I need to present to a C-suite, I've got a time block and set myself into the focus, and it's going to be painful, but I can do it, because I'm aware of it. The second thing I do is like, I know that when these things are in front of me and I have these bugs or deliverables I need to get across, I have to face the fear. I know everybody hears this all the time. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. As I've been the only woman in the room in cases, as I've been the most senior person when I'm 25, you sometimes have to just face your fears. And so learning to get comfortable with fear is something really important. And then the third thing that I've learned about building a path for yourself is do it. It's scary, yes, but just do it. Start the movement, start the momentum, just try it, because there's nothing worse than not trying. So those are ways of which I've learned about like building your path for success. But it can only come when you really know yourself. And then 3, in your day-to-day, how do you operate to your values? And so we talked about those values at the outset. We've now addressed kind of the bugs and the features that you have. So operating to your values is incredibly important to me. So 1, my value is honesty. So when you know honesty, how does that look in your day-to-day? Honesty means for me that I am giving great feedback in the moment. I'm using I'm building monthly one-on-ones just to adjust your career talks with my team and my peers. So I can talk about how we can all get better. That's tactically how I try to raise the bar and use honesty as a tool. I'm not scared of telling the CEO when things are going off the rails, because you have to be honest. That brings me to the second value that's important to me and I build around, which is transparency. If you're not transparent with where your business is and where your pipeline is, then nobody can help you. Again, this is scary. You're going to have to share with people where your mistakes are, where your strengths are, but being transparent will win you confidence 10 times over. And then finally, I would say this, and I think this is the message that I think is really important right now, is doing all of this with joy and optimism and with gratitude. I've been that driver, I've been that pusher, and the only way that gets success across the line is really by being grateful for the people around you that are doing this work with you and for sharing their wins and the wins that you do. We're always driving and moving really fast in our industry. And if you're not grateful for what you've done, if you're not sharing that gratitude, you're gonna go it alone and you'll fail, I'll be honest. And so look, why does this matter today? I think we've talked about this. Kristen did a great job of talking about this right now. Showing up with heart is how we're gonna differentiate yourselves. You're looking for a job, you're operating as a founder. If you show up with the heart, you will win. And so that's my talk. Happy to share with you more.
Any questions for Diane? Oh,
Hi,
yep.
Diane.
Perfect.
Hi.
You again.
Yes, Simon again. Thank you for sharing. I have a question. Maybe you can tell me this is not your department. My question is, when do you raise prices? Because in the food delivery space, right, where margins are thin, when is the right time, at what scale to raise price? Because they said that, building a brand is how you make your customers price inelastic, but nobody knows DoorDash in the beginning when you're 400 employee, right? When you're 400 customers. So at what point do you raise price?
Great question. So when do you raise price? The fundamentals that I learned and operated to, and again, I could have given a whole other TED talk about like how to operate in the discipline around DoorDash operating systems, and maybe I'll come back and do that another time. But the raising of prices are really a specific one. We kind of followed up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will, which was 1, make sure the quality is there. If you don't have a quality product, you can't raise the price. So that's step 1, is like make sure quality is there. And then for us, that it was about, okay, are you seeing volume, therefore like traction behind it, behind your quality product. So can you gain the momentum behind it? And then once you had the quality and then the momentum behind it, then it was, okay, now we can turn on a little bit more of the marketing. And then the balance with marketing is the pricing. So that was kind of the 3 stages we went through to get to raising prices. But I could talk in more detail about the millions of experiments we ran with pricing.
One more question.
Yeah, sorry, question in the back here.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the hospitality industry. We have APIs that are constantly growing, POS systems that are giving new features on a daily basis. And one of your gaps you were talking about was being blind to those features. So for example, you hire a product manager to deal with that. How do you determine if you have the right people in the right places?
Oh, man.
And if you have the right number of people there as well?
Yeah, I think about this. The analogy I always use for this is like, okay, we've got a bus. You know, do you have the right number of seats on the bus, and do you have the right people in the right seats for the bus? So first, it goes back to kind of understanding where your business is at scale, and I don't know where that is because your finance, depending where your finances are, it gives you the understanding of how big a bus that you're kind of really available to. So pick your envelope or your size of bus, and then therefore you can prioritize your seats thereafter, is how I imagine it. Then the second piece of like, how do I evaluate talent is the other second question I heard there.
Yeah.
Right, which is the way I operate too is by having really clear goals at the outset of the quarter, year. I don't know what your operating rhythm is, but likely quarter. You operate to those goals. Can they meet the goals? And if they can't, that's okay because failure is fine. But can they explain why they didn't hit the goals, what they missed from learning those goals, and what they're going to do differently next quarter to hit their goal? But that requires you to have a really diligent, goal-oriented, driven business, which is hard. I'm happy to talk to you about how to structure kind of the cadences and the operating system behind goal setting.
Amazing, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Round of applause again, please. Thank you.